The islands of New Zealand are famous the world over for their magnificent scenery and tourist attractions. But more important still, the fertile soil and abundant rainfall make this a land of amazing agricultural wealth. Farming has long been a scientific business, and a typical example of this is to be found at Hilton in the Canterbury district of the South Island. Mr. Dixon, as well as guiding the destinies of Hilton, has found time to record with his own camera the story of achievement it is our privilege to present. Our story starts in the season of the year when flowers are at their best, and the homestead garden at Hilton makes a colour display. For this is summer, and out in the fields the crops are being harvested. Here we see the mowing of perennial ryegrass, which is being harvested for seed. After being mowed, the grass is raked into windrows. The self-propelled header being used has a specially designed canvas-type pickup. This crop of ryegrass yielded 50 bushels of seed to the acre. As you will notice, the grass has been swept into windrows to prevent bleaching of new grass underneath and infestation by grass grub. This crop was spoilt by the wet season, and the grass had to be destroyed. A tractor is pushing the grass to the fire with a sweep, which was specially designed for this purpose and made on the property. But usually, thrashed ryegrass straw is baled and sold. This machine, known as a tedder, is used to row up just ahead of the automatic self-tying string baler, which is baling ryegrass and clover hay. The bales, carried on a sledge towed by the baler, are tripped off and stacked in a uniform line. Green peas are grown for export, chiefly to England. In preparing the ground for sowing, it is first of all harrowed, then the pea seed is sown by means of a drill. The following scenes show the pea crop in its various stages of growth. An important export from New Zealand to all parts of the world is pedigree garden pea seeds. The time to thrash peas is while they still retain a percentage of greenness. An aerator in lifting swathes of mown garden peas helps to dry them in readiness for thrashing. After the thrashing process, the peas are bagged for export. It is customary to burn the pea straw after the crop has been harvested. This particular crop yielded 53 bushels of pea seed to the acre. Exceptionally wet seasons cause flooding conditions in adjacent rivers. 5 inches fell in this area in a short period, and the river is in flood. This results in backwaters and drains being congested with debris and exceptional growth of willow shoots and gorse. The bulldozer is used for pushing the willows, gorse and general debris into large heaps, where it is gathered up by the drag line. This drag line has been specially constructed by Mr. Dixon and his staff on Hilton. It was converted from an Army Disposal's Bren gun carrier and is a typical example of the ingenuity displayed by the New Zealand farmers. There are over 5 miles of drains and ditches to be maintained on this property. It is also the time of the year for harvesting the wheat crop. After the machinery has been checked in readiness for harvesting, it is brought to the paddocks. It is evident that the recent abnormal rain and wind have flattened the crop. This, however, does not present a problem, as the header is fitted with a special type of pickup reel which combs the wheat into the knife. An additional attachment lifts the reel whilst the header is being turned. Bagging and sewing is done whilst the header is in motion, and the bags are dropped off in readiness to be picked up by lorry. The yield of this crop was 80 bushels to the acre. It is customary to burn the wheat straw to destroy all weed seeds and allow cultivation to proceed immediately after harvesting, so that autumn crops can be sown and become established before winter rains and frosts set in. New Zealand ranks as one of the main wool-producing countries in the world, having a sheep population of over 35 million. At Hilton, hoggets are being drafted in preparation for showering. This is an annual event, compulsory in New Zealand, for the control of external parasites. Here, a modern sheep shower is being used. This is a new method of doing the job, replacing the old practice of swimming sheep through a bath. It has many advantages to the wool grower: saving of manpower, eliminating injury to sheep, avoiding staining of wool. Like Hilton, many other farms throughout New Zealand are equipped with this modern improvement. Without loss or injury, the sheep are returned to their pastures. There are many jobs on the farm to be done at autumn time. One of the most important tasks is the cultivation of the lucerne crop. These crops yield 4 cuts of lucerne annually. Here we see the crops being top-dressed with carbonate of lime at the rate of 1 ton to the acre. The carbonate of lime is evenly distributed by bulk lime spreaders attached to lorries. This is a speedy, efficient way of doing the job. A closer inspection shows the results after the lime has been spread. The sun rises on a winter morning with snow on the ground, and the farmer's thoughts turn to the numerous jobs which have to be done during the winter months. On the average New Zealand farm, hedges are used extensively as windbreaks. These hedges and gorse fences have to be trimmed, and an ingenious device for this job has been constructed on Hilton. A special attachment controlled by the operator allows the power arm to be raised and lowered as the fence posts are encountered. Notice the powerful rotary blade on the extended arm, which is power-driven from the tractor. This machine can be adjusted to trim hedges of any height. Another important winter job is the ploughing of land in preparation for crops. Ploughing in winter allows frosts to mellow and sweeten the ground, while the seagulls have a change of diet. In the very heavy, swampy country, it is necessary to use a specially constructed swamp plough. The swamp plough is used for doing the bulk of the heavy work. Draining this sort of country is common practice in New Zealand, the rainfall being so great that unless provision is made to run the water away, the ground becomes sour and is useless for productive purposes. These scenes show the trenches before the field pipes are laid, and you will notice the volume of water that is already running off. The pipes are then set in position and covered with earth, and the paddocks are cultivated in the normal way. In winter also, the sheep are brought down periodically from the light country run where they are hand-fed at this time of the year to get a picking of green feed. Hilton is located on the Canterbury Plains, which are bordered by the coast on the east and the Alps on the west. The highest peak, Mount Cook, is 12,349 feet above sea level. The snow-capped Alps offer a magnificent panorama. The blossoms herald the coming of spring, a time when new growth is seen in trees and hedges. New life is to be found in garden and field. Hilton covers 645 acres. 245 acres are cultivated. The remaining 400 acres graze 50 head of beef cattle and 4,500 sheep. This will give an indication of the high productive rate and carrying capacity of this country. The ewes and lambs are seen being mustered for lamb marking, which is in operation. The famous Canterbury lambs are renowned the world over. Tails are counted to arrive at the lambing percentage, which usually averages between 100 and 120%. The yards are moved each year to avoid any possibility of blood poisoning. With the lamb marking completed, the job of harvesting the lucerne crop begins. Even though this crop is harvested 4 times annually, with modern mechanical means it does not present a problem on Hilton. The harvesting of lucerne follows the normal sequence of mowing, tedding and baling. A mechanical loader is used for loading the bales from ground level to the lorry. This particular mechanical loader was again designed and built by Mr. Dixon and is also used for unloading hay into barns. Approximately 12,000 bales of hay are produced each year, the bulk of which is used for stock feeding, and any surplus is sold on the open market. Due to the mountainous type of country throughout New Zealand, aerial top dressing is being employed as a means of arresting soil erosion and developing pastures, thereby bringing former wasteland into productive use. This work is done by contractors, using light types of aircraft which are specially fitted out for the purpose. Skillful flying is needed as the landing fields are improvised, and many of them are in precarious positions. These planes hold between 300 and 400 pounds of fertilizer or sowing mixture, which is loaded into them by a tractor loader. The testing of air conditions and prevailing winds is of paramount importance in confined areas, as the mixture could easily be carried to the wrong paddocks. The pilot makes sure of these details before releasing the mixture, and this efficient method is demonstrated by the density of the mixture deposited on the ground. Before the advent of aerial top dressing, it was the practice to transport fertilizer and seed into the hills by pack horse, and then do the spreading by hand. This modern aerial method is much more economical and effective, and has greatly increased the carrying capacity of the New Zealand pastures. On their way back to Hilton, the planes fly over the beautiful farming country of the Canterbury district. From the landing field at Hilton, aerial sowing of seed is also carried out in the cultivated paddocks. After being loaded, the plane makes a series of runs over a 50-acre block of cultivated land. The mixture being sown consists of 100 weight of super, 20 pounds of perennial ryegrass, 10 pounds of Italian ryegrass, 6 pounds of sub-clover, 3 pounds of rape, and 1 pound of white clover per acre. The use of aircraft in farming is another example of the progressiveness of the New Zealand farmer. Once again, sheep come back into our story as shearing time approaches. 10 sheep are carried to the acre. This is quite a normal carrying capacity for many New Zealand farms, and the average fleece on Hilton cuts 11¼ pounds. Shearing in New Zealand is carried out mostly by the Maori population. As the wool clip is one of the important revenue-earning commodities on New Zealand farms, it is customary to find modern, up-to-date shearing machinery. After the sheep are shorn, the wool is classed, baled, and branded ready for sale. As in Australia, the wool is sold at public auction to the highest bidder and shipped to all parts of the world. As we come to the close of this 12-month record on Hilton, we wish to thank Mr. Dixon for making this film available to us. We felt that it gave us a unique opportunity to present an interesting and instructive message for the benefit of primary producers in Australia and New Zealand.